Hello all, welcome to a ramblings video where I ramble about things that are about things. Anyway, I haven't done one of these in a long time, so I'm really out of practice. In the background you'll see some live stream footage that are sped up. If you want a direct link to those videos to see the whole drawing process in normal speed, then check the description. Links should be there. Anyway, I thought I'd take the time to use this video to briefly explain what I've done in each of the live streams that I've done during March. Say a bit about what I did, maybe even what I could have done better. So let's begin with the first live stream, which happened on the 5th of March 2023, and I was doing some figure drawing. So I start the month doing figure drawings. I've been doing nothing but portrait drawings, and I needed to draw something different. And figure drawings I've been doing in real life, but haven't done them in digital yet. The figure, by the way, the model is Jukepub stock. I'll put a link to their Twitter page in the description. Go and check them out. They upload loads of photos, good quality, and an excellent resource to use. So I don't jump into drawing the figures straight away. I do a warm-up sketch, drawing random shapes and forms, but eventually I'll start drawing the figures. For this figure, Jukepub has a YouTube channel, and I use that to as the reference. So within the video I used, it started out with a couple of 30-second poses, and then a minute pose, and then a 2-minute pose. During the live stream I've commented that it was a lot more difficult than what I'm used to. So I do some real life figure drawings away from keyboard and all that. And generally it's a lot easier to do it on a sketchbook and pencil than it is for me to do it on a digital medium, partly because I'm still using my wrist. I still have a small tablet, whereas in real life I would use my offhand to measure. I can't do that as much within this digital version. It's not like a technical reason, because I could always just use a pencil. Actually, I don't know why I don't do it, but I think I'm gonna need to doing that more often. Well, anyway, so I just to skip ahead, when I think I do better when it comes to doing the figure drawings that have a longer time. Obviously because I spend more time. I think in this video I also accidentally deleted a layer of a post that I think was probably the best, and yeah, I wasn't too fussed about losing it, but I would have liked it if I hadn't deleted it. And so during that live stream there was a lot of erasing and then using the selection tools to move parts of the body around. In the future I think I want to avoid using the selection tool, only because I don't want to get into the habit of drawing and then later transforming it. Basically what I'm trying to say is I want to keep how I draw in digitally to mimic how I would draw in a sketchbook. Having said that, if I realize that if I do that, then I'm not really using the digital tools. I'm not really using them as effectively as I could. Anyway, I think this first serious attempt at live streaming figure drawing sketches went well. There were a couple of poses I liked drawing. There were a couple I think could be done better. Not too fussed about the first few 30-second drawings, but the poses were interesting enough to go back and redraw at a later date. So anyway, this leads us to the next live stream, which happened on the 12th of March 2023, where I start drawing another set of figure drawings. Alright, so we get to the next live stream where I do another figure drawing, and instead of using JukePub stocks resources, I use a website that I've previously used in the past, and I mean really back in the day, called Pose Maniacs. The website has changed a lot since I've last used it. It's a bit more, has a bit more things to it, like the 30-second pose selector thing. I can't remember what the tool was called, but basically that tool lets you select the amount of poses you want, how the difficulty, and how long per image. And a bit about the website, is actually a really awesome website. If you want just a bunch of poses, you can't model them or reposition the limbs. You can rotate around the pose, the figure. The figures are all 3D CG. They're all 3D models of a person, of a generic person without any skin, but you make do, right? Nah, I make it sound as though it's a bad website. It's not. It's a fantastic resource. And I used it for the live stream, and generally I think it was okay. The live stream, I mean, the first few poses were is to be expected, not good, I reckon, but I think I improve a bit later on. What I do like about this website is that it has a couple of poses where the figure is in poses that you won't usually see. So a lot of the poses that I drew before tend to be like a standing pose, or like a walking graceful pose, or some kind of elegant pose, or either that, or it'd be a fighting really aggressive stance, wide leg, arms apart, hips twisting and all that. But there are a couple of poses on that this website has where the arms are like obstructing certain parts of the view, the body's contortioned, they're bent in such a weird angles that you don't usually see, and they were pretty interesting to draw. I think there was a Spider-Man pose I eventually drew that was pretty cool. But yeah, there's really not much to talk about. But I guess so back, I mentioned I used it back in the day. I At the time it wasn't proper figure drawing, in the sense that I don't know, I don't know how to describe it. I drew in a sketchbook and I was drawing the contour, the outline of it. If I were to pull the sketchbook out and look through it, none of these poses have that flow feel to them. They all feel generically static. I remember being hyper focused on drawing the muscle groups. So a common theme here when it comes to drawing these figures is that I usually start with drawing with the head first, and the reason I do that is because I use the head as a unit of measurement. If I know how big the head is, that would give me a rough indication of how big I should draw the rib cage and the gap between the rib cage and pelvis, and then the size of the pelvis. After that, then it's just drawing the limbs, which usually come out of the body. But it's a bit. I know it's a bit more complicated than that. But for now, from at my skill level, I think thinking of drawing the limbs as cylinders coming out of the body makes a bit of sense. So I can roughly draw the figure to a degree where you there's something on the screen and you recognize it as a person standing in a pose. What I need to then do is actually draw in the core shadow or the terminator line, which would then help with indicating the roundness of the body, and actually highlight the muscle that's on top of that mannequin. So so these figure drawings I'm drawing, they're not. It's obviously they're not anatomically correct, but they're meant to be used as as a mannequin. And if you can draw the mannequin, then presumably being able to draw the muscles on top should be easier than just hyperfixating myself on drawing accurate muscles first. At least that's the thinking process. Finally, I'll end this video with some commentary over the last portrait I've done for the month, portrait number 23. I think I started this portrait on the 3rd week of March. So that would be around, I think it was on the, sorry, that's the 19th of March. I started the first part of it, and the first part didn't last. So the live stream for the first part wasn't long at all. It was about 20 minutes. Something came up at the last minute that I needed to attend to, but I managed to try and get most of the sketch for this portrait done. And I start this drawing with the usual method of using the Riley abstraction method, or at least some form of it. You start drawing the circle, cut the circle in half horizontally, figure out the thirds for the top quadrant as well as the bottom quadrant, drag a third of the vertical line down to give the lower jaw and chin, and then draw the eyes and all that stuff. I mean, it's just the routine at this point. My sketching of the Riley abstraction method isn't fully accurate to what would be the traditional way of drawing it, but it's how can I say this? It's a way, I suppose. And one of the glaring, looking back at the video, one of the glaring issues I can see is that the proportions, when compared to the reference model, isn't as accurate as I would have liked. Now, this I sort of covered in the second part of this portrait sketch, literally the week after 19th, I think it was on the 26th of March, where before continuing on with the sketch, I found a video by a YouTuber, an art instructor, I suppose, called Leo DeFreya. I'll link the exact video I watched in the description, but he made a good point that when it comes to drawing likeness, you need to start measuring. The thing is that when you want to draw likeness, you need to start measuring. You know, abstraction methods like Loomis and Riley have their places, and by no means am I suggesting that people should stop doing that. In fact, I think he'd probably be the one to say that you start out with doing those abstraction methods. It's just that at a certain point, if you want to go down the route of copying or being able to replicate a subject, then you have to start measuring, and measuring itself will take time. There's just no way about it, and that's actually is a problem a challenge for me, in that when it comes to measuring, I'm impatient. You know, it's not just putting a measuring stick out, getting a measurement, and then laying it down. You need to double check it and maybe triple check it. What I did in Krita this time around is actually make use of the ruler tool. In the video you see me drag some red lines across. That's basically Krita's ruler tool. They're just used to compare where the facial features such as the eyes and nose are placed. And using that tool, I try to make some corrections. So I just shift the the sketches left cheek area a bit out, and then I move the nose and the mouth a bit up. But as a result of that, I've noticed that the lower jawline and the chin, it's elongated basically. So that's to be expected when you're trying to correct errors and measuring. When you measure when you try to get an accurate measurement and you make the corrections, that's obviously going to have a knock-on effect on something else, some other part of the drawing. So you then go and correct that part of the drawing and measure again. So making these corrections, I then start painting. Well, I resize the sketch and then start placing in the values. Putting in a light gray tone, and then I think I use a darker gray tone on the darker areas. It's a bit too light, and the darker tone could be a bit more darker, but this was like an initial paint. So what I should have done was have a darker gray tone background rather than this light background, because it sort of gives the impression that the model is in a very well lit room, whereas in the reference the light is actually coming, I think, from the model's right side, but from behind, I guess, because the lower jaw is lit with this intense red light. But I don't spend too long on this rendering because I actually didn't get to finish it, and I'm hoping to finish this rendering sometime in April maybe. And on that note, I'm going to end the video here. You would not believe how many times I recorded this audio commentary just for this video. Check the description out for links to the references I've used, as well as the links to the live stream videos I used to make this video. Also, feel free to join me during my live streams. I usually do them every Sundays. I make a tweet if I do go, so you might want to follow me on Twitter. That Twitter account doesn't get used for anything else other than making live stream tweets anyway. So yeah, thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.